What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, January 18th, 2025, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 21:54 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and from here in the United States. So for some reason, U.S. nuclear forces are broadcasting a constant stream of data on the primary U.S. nuclear war frequency, and it appears to be focused in Europe because the radio stations in Europe are picking up the signal very strong. So I don't know if this is related to recent actions in Eastern Europe by Russia. According to the Romanian Ministry of Defense, the Russian drones that apparently crashed into Romanian territory were 60 kilometers apart in Tulcea County near the Danube River. Their fragments were found outside of populated areas and did not cause any damage. So NATO has been quick to say that these drones were not shot down by Romania, but that they crashed in Romanian territory. That makes absolutely zero sense. Does that make any sense to you guys? Okay, how can a Russian drone, if it was flying over Ukraine, crash in Romania? Okay, that does not make any sense at all. So what it sounds like to me, the truth, is that these Russian drones either intentionally or unintentionally flew into Romanian airspace, and they were shot down by Romanian air defenses, okay? And that's why they fell outside of populated areas, because I think that the Romanians waited for these drones to be away from any kind of town before shooting them down, okay? 60 kilometers apart in Tulcea. So NATO is saying that this was unintentional, that Russia did not send these into Romanian airspace on purpose, and NATO is downplaying the severity of the situation. But think about it logically, okay? How can a Russian drone crash in Romania if it wasn't shot down in Romania? Okay, that makes zero sense, okay? So they think that we're stupid and we can't put one and one together, okay? But let me play a sample of this constant stream of data that's being broadcasted in Europe. It's been broadcasting for the last 18 hours or so. It started very early this morning or late last night. It's still broadcasting. And if you tune into my 24/7 live stream, you can listen to it, and also the nuclear codes transmitted by our nuclear forces. We've had a lot of them being transmitted over the last week and a half. And just this past Wednesday, we had major breaking news come out that Russia locked onto a French maritime patrol aircraft in the Baltic Sea with their S-400 air defense systems in Kaliningrad. Okay, so NATO has deployed planes to the Baltics to patrol the Baltic Sea, especially because of all the undersea cables that were cut between Finland and Estonia, and between different Baltic countries and Scandinavian countries. And I told you guys when that happened a couple weeks back, when Russia cut those 2 telecom cables and 1 electric cable, that this was preparations for an invasion. And I still believe that that's what that was, okay? They were cutting these cables to isolate Estonia and the Baltics from the rest of NATO. Okay, so there's only 1 electric cable connecting Estonia to Finland now, and so there's no other way for the Baltics to get electricity except from Finland. Okay, now Poland has discussed with Lithuania creating an electricity supply route from Poland through the Suwalki Gap into the Baltics, but if the Russians take the Suwalki Gap, then obviously they would cut that power line off, okay? And then they would just have that 1 electric cable in the Gulf of Finland that they would have to sever, and then all of the Baltics is basically in the dark, okay? Now, Lithuania started But this data stream is very rare to hear, and it typically only happens when something is brewing. So let me play it for you. So something's definitely going on, and the Russian army attacked downtown Kyiv with an Iskander ballistic missile last night. 4 people were killed and 3 were injured in the Shevchenkivsky district. A water main was also broken, and Ukraine responded right after with drone attacks on Russian oil and industrial facilities. Okay, so the situation in Eastern Europe is continuing to escalate. Very, very concerning that this data is now broadcasting in the European theater. And I can pick it up here with my home radio because I have a very sensitive antenna. And here we have some footage showing these Russian drones that crashed in Romania, 60 kilometers apart. Guys, drones don't just crash on their own, okay? They usually have a target, and they're supposed to hit that target. They don't just randomly crash. So I don't buy the story, but maybe it's true. Maybe they did just randomly crash. Either way, it's another violation of NATO's airspace. Okay, they've already sent multiple drones to Romania before, and it's so bad now that Romania has a special alert system for people that live close to Ukraine for incoming drones. They also built special blast-proof bunkers for locals to hide in. And Russia has already sent multiple cruise missiles through Polish airspace. So guys, get prepared. The situation is really, really serious. And we had this very unusual reconnaissance aircraft patrolling Poland and Lithuania along the border with Belarus. This is a French Beach King 350ER, and I've personally never seen a French recon plane patrolling the Suwalki Gap, Lithuania, and eastern Poland. This is clearly a sign that something is going on over here for the French to now send one of their recon planes. And like I said, the Russians locked onto a French maritime patrol aircraft in international airspace with their air defenses. Do you know how provocative that is, guys? Okay, wake up. Okay, I know a lot of people are just so hyper-focused on the political situation here in the U.S., but we have things going on overseas, and it's all just one big distraction, okay? They want you to focus on that, so you're not focused on the real danger. And then we also had this Polish recon plane patrolling this part of Estonia here near Tallinn, okay, in the Gulf of Finland. This is the area where Russia cut those telecommunications cables, okay? And last night we had several Russian doomsday planes fly to Siberia again. Okay, so over the last 48 hours we had 4 Russian doomsday planes go to Siberia. Very interesting. And also yesterday we had a nuke sniffer plane and a Cobra ball airborne over the Midwest, which is pretty unusual. The nuke sniffer can detect traces of radiation in the atmosphere, and the Cobra ball can detect and track missiles, okay? We also had another day of U.S. sub-hunter patrols off the coast of Florida. Here you can see 2 sub-hunters off the coast of Florida and also Virginia, okay? Very, very concerning. And here we have a picture of some new air defenses that were just installed outside of the Rzeszów International Airport in southeastern Poland. This is the only way for NATO weapons to go to Ukraine is through this airport in southeastern Poland. There's no other way that NATO weapons flow into Ukraine except here. Okay, so NATO is really beefing up the security here. These are German NASAMS systems. Okay, now the NASAMS are different than the PATRIOT system in that the NASAMS actually use a special converted air-to-air missile that's used for dogfighting, and they convert that to be launched from these launchers. Okay, so these are actually air-to-air missiles that they're using in these NASAMS, and they converted them to be used as air defense missiles. So these are more used for taking down low-flying aircraft and larger drones, things like that, versus hypersonic missiles or ballistic missiles. These can also take down cruise missiles as well. And they also deployed more Patriot batteries to this airport. So something is going on for NATO to suddenly beef up their air defenses here in southeastern Poland, okay? And President Trump just arrived in the D.C. area aboard an Air Force jet. It looked like an Air Force One jet. Here's video footage. He arrived in Sterling, Virginia tonight. He's going to spend the night at his golf resort. And this update was sponsored by MyPatriot Supply. Guys, MyPatriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to use my link, preparewithnYprepper.com. They have 4 months of freeze-dried food, which has a shelf life of 25 years. And their normal price is $250. And with my link, that'll drop the price down to $200. So you save $50 on this 1-month emergency food supply from MyPatriot Supply. All of the food is packed into 2 rugged, watertight buckets. 4 weeks of food in just 2 buckets. You can fit that in any apartment or even in your vehicle. But use my link, preparewithnYprepper.com, to get $50 off the MyPatriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. So there he is, the future president of the United States, Donald Trump, right there. This guy's going to be our president the next 4 years, okay? And it does look like an Air Force One or Air Force Two or some kind of a VIP plane. You can see the blue color there. So this could already be his Air Force One. But there's the man of the hour right there, or the man of the weekend. And I will be covering the inauguration. If anything crazy happens, I will go live if necessary. You can see his wife, Melania, right next to him, and his son, Barron, behind him. Okay, so in Virginia already. And we have some video footage here coming out of D.C. tonight showing a fire truck heading to the White House for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why, but I will be monitoring the situation. And what's interesting is that the last inauguration that was conducted inside the Capitol building was Ronald Reagan's second swearing in. Reagan was the only other president besides Trump in the last 4 decades to have been shot and nearly killed by a would-be assassin in his first term. Okay, so Ronald Reagan gets shot in his first term, and then they hold his second inauguration inside, and I'm hearing that the reason why they're holding this inauguration inside is not because of the weather, but because of security reasons. And the U.S. Secret Service has expanded their initial security perimeter around the National Mall and other sites in D.C. for the inauguration on Monday. So here you can see a map of the National Mall, and you can see these areas shaded in pink are restricted areas. Okay, pedestrians cannot go here. Okay, so they've expanded this no-go zone, a massive no-go zone. Okay, so nobody can go here in the National Mall, and even like the Lincoln Memorial and the World War II Memorial are off limits. Okay, only these outlying areas is where you can actually go. Okay, so very interesting. And then we have some video footage here of Trump arriving via Secret Service to his new Air Force One plane, it looks like. This is the one that touched down in Sterling, Virginia tonight. And what's interesting is you can see here that these Suburbans have special drone jammers. You can see those sticks coming out of the roof of these Suburbans. And the U.S. Treasury is going to take emergency measures to avoid default. Starting January 21st, the U.S. Treasury will implement emergency measures as the federal government hits its debt ceiling, the New York Times reported. These measures will last until March 14th, but Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned of significant uncertainty in managing payments and revenues during this time. Wow. And Trump's first trip as the 47th president will be to the devastated areas of Los Angeles next week. This is being reported by News Nation. This is the wildfire devastated areas. And TikTok CEO Shu Chu, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, and Apple CEO Tim Cook will attend Trump's inauguration. We're hearing that Nancy Pelosi will skip his inauguration. And Joe and Jill Biden, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and George and Laura Bush will be attending the inauguration, as well as Obama, but Michelle Obama will not be there. Mike Pence will also be there as well. And Trump announced yesterday that he will nominate Matthew Lochmeyer, a former lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Space Force who was removed from command in 2021 after going on a conservative podcast to criticize what he called Marxist beliefs in the military, as Undersecretary of the U.S. Air Force. Lochmeyer will serve under Dr. Troy E. Mank, who Trump nominated yesterday as his Secretary of the Air Force. So very interesting. And according to the Wall Street Journal, mass deportation raids will occur across the U.S. starting January 21st in sanctuary cities. And cities like New York City, Chicago, and LA will be the center of focus. One source said certain ICE offices have already paused arrests to make room in detention centers for the targets of the upcoming raids. And Trump's hand-picked border czar, Tom Homan, said in an interview Saturday that the incoming administration is now reconsidering whether to launch these deportation raids in Chicago and other cities next week after preliminary details were leaked out in news reports. And Trump has told advisors that he wants to travel to China within 100 days of taking office. And the Canadian government is preparing for the possibility of financial bailouts for Canadian businesses that are badly hit by the U.S. tariffs that Trump may impose, according to the New York Times. And at least 4 Russian military officers were killed in Ukraine's attack on the town of Lvov in Russia's Kursk Oblast on December 30th. Independent Russian media outlet Media Zona reported on January 17th, citing recently published obituaries. 8 people from the division's senior staff were killed and 22 others were injured in the attack, the obituary read. So this was one of the ATACMS strikes, right before the new year. Ukraine taking out several senior Russian military officers. And we're hearing that Syria has banned imports from Iran, Israel, and Russia. And U.S. warships reportedly launched missiles today targeting Houthi sites in Yemen's coastal province of Hodeidah. Sky News in Arabia reported, citing Yemeni military sources. And the Houthi military spokesperson said the Houthis attacked the USS Harry Truman aircraft carrier and its accompanying ships with drones and cruise missiles today in retaliation. Probably lies. And Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff is considering a visit to the Gaza Strip as part of his efforts to keep the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas on track. And after the arrest of South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol, his supporters stormed the courthouse today demanding his release. Supporters of South Korea's president smashed windows and broke into the Seoul Western District Court early Sunday after it extended the detention of the impeached leader. Tens of thousands of protesters had gathered outside the court for a hearing attended by Yoon, the country's first sitting head of state to be arrested with live footage on Sunday showing his flag-waving supporters breaking into the building. Wow, so very serious situation there in South Korea. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back tomorrow with more breaking news. Tune into my 24/7 live stream for ongoing coverage. I do check into that stream periodically throughout the day and throughout the night. And I will be monitoring the situation closely here in the U.S. over the next 48 hours in case something crazy happens during the inauguration. I'm very concerned about that. But also overseas, that continuous data stream in Europe has me very concerned. But until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.